Yes, Spurs fans, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur here. Another day, another Spurs game. These games have been coming thick and fast, and this is really a big one, in my opinion, because the last game felt like Spurs played well enough to get something more out of it than just a draw. But the results and just the form has just been so poor of late that for a while now we have been saying kind of a must win for Thomas Frank. He's still in the job, and this is definitely another game where I would say he absolutely needs to try to find a way to pick up 3 points somehow, some way. It'd be nice if we got a good performance with it as well. But looking forward to it. What I will say is that no matter what, when kind of the form is bad and maybe you start asking big questions of the manager, it does make every game then very important and very interesting because then there's going to be a lot of drama, intensity, and all that sort of stuff attached to it. So at least we have that to cling on to. I'm a little bit under the weather. I know Dave is going to be powering through today. He's very much under the weather. I also poured myself one of the world's worst cups of coffee I've ever had in a while. So really things are not off to a good start today. Also popping vitamin C pills, dropping those as much as Spurs are dropping points this season. But looking forward to another panel show, looking forward to another match preview. And then we'll see you all later for the watch along. We have plenty of questions here tonight prepared by Dave in the top of the chat here. And then we'll greet some of the people that are coming in, and we'll get the show underway. If you can for us, please, everybody, smash the like button. Get into the comments below, please. Ask us any questions, if you will, or anything that you feel like you might be disagreeing with, agreeing with, or if at any point you want to get your opinions in straight away, you're welcome to do it as a super chat. And if you want to become a member of the channel, I will pin that at the top of the chat. I'm not seeing it there, so maybe I just have to do that as we're getting this show underway. But good to see T in the house. We have Slim Boy Tubbs as well. Good to see you, Slim Boy. The one and only Jacob Anderson. He's saying we need to come out with a win today. Appreciate your support, Jacob. I think you've been with us for such a long time. So hopefully you're doing okay. And it's good to have you during these more dark and, let's say, dramatic times when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. Good to see Ghosted as well. PJ, Rob Plan, Shemi Tan, the big only Shemi Tan, Terry Betts, Edelfan out in Germany, and then Dermatron is in here with us with We Are Spurs TV. I'm going to make the best use of everybody's time here. I'm going to get straight away in with these questions. I'll go to you first on this one, Martin, since you're in the top corner there. Away from home, we've actually been one of the best teams in the league. It's been one of our strengths this season. Only Arsenal have 20 points, where Spurs have collected 18 away from home this season in the Premier League. And Bournemouth are currently on an 11-game run without a win. Does that give you any confidence heading in tonight that Spurs have been a better team away from home this season?
It should do, but I think we're also beaten down. It's hard to just flip the switch like that. But yeah, you've got to take some confidence for that. We don't play exhilarating football on the road, but we're grinding out results. So we can't ask for much more than that in the state we're in. And, you know, the likes of Iriola and that, everyone like praised him. I want to get him. It goes unnoticed, as we say, like with Frank. 3 games at Brentford don't matter, but you know they're on an 11-game unwinning. That's mad, and there's no pressure on him, and that is the difference in the two. And they're about to sell Semenyo, and they just seem to roll along with no pressure, and that is the difference in a club like ours, and you know your usual mid-table club. So, but it's a cold Wednesday night, as I say, in Stoke and all that, but yeah, I think as long as Frank doesn't get scared of what they've done to us before and worry about them, then rather than worrying about us, I think we've got a chance. But if he shows them too much respect and worries that they, you know, run us ragged at the lane, then we could have a good night. But I say that's time will tell on that one.
I'll throw this follow-up question at Soren here that I think is maybe down the conspiracy realms of, you know, what we have to sort of guess is going wrong with Spurs. Spurs are one of the best teams away in the league, but we've only won 2 games at home all season, Soren. Why does this team seem to look maybe freer away from home, or is it just less pressure away from home? Is the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium all of a sudden becoming more of a burden to this team, or are we just maybe better on the counter away from home? Can you explain why there's such a stark difference?
I personally think it's the pressure thing. I think the players are so worried about doing things wrong and losing the crowd quickly that it really is affecting them. I mean, you kind of see the way they play away compared to home, and it feels a little bit freer. It feels more natural. You see them come home I mean, Sunday we didn't do too bad. I thought Sunday was a good game. But yeah, I think it's a case of none of the players want to make a mistake, and it's affecting the way they play. You kind of think it'd be interesting to see how they would play at home behind closed doors, and that would give us, that would tell us everything. If they go on and do well, then it's the pressure of the fans. They don't want to. I think they've got to the point where people say, and I've said it many times, that we don't think these players care, and I think they care a lot more than what we think they do. And I think it really gets to them when they lose, when they play bad. Maybe they shrug it off a little bit quicker than us fans do, because it's a job. It's a passion to us. It's a job to them. But I think they care, and I think the fan pressure is probably getting to one or two of them. But let's see how we go tonight. If tonight we play really well, then we see. But I mean, somebody just said there that playing at home should be an advantage. But when you've got your fans booing you, it's not an advantage, is it? There's no advantage to your own fans booing you. So it can go both ways. They say the fans are the 12th man. Well, if the fans are against you, then it's a 12th man to the opposition rather than to the home team. So, and that's not a go at the fans. I mean, I think this season, especially, the boos of it's hard to say that they shouldn't be there. The football's been terrible, but you do see that when the fans get behind the team plays better. So, I do think it's a pressure thing personally.
Be funny if we're just prime Madrid, and on the training ground or beyond closed doors, and then the moment that anybody actually starts watching us, they all of a sudden start to cower. But Dave, I mean, two-parter on this one. Does the away form give you any confidence? And then it's almost like a teacher here. There's no wrong answer, really. Can you explain why Spurs have been such a better team away from home than at home this season?
Yeah, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you're all keeping well. Yeah, look, for me, Jack, I think the away form does give me a bit of hope going into this game. It's been our sort of bread and butter this season. Usually it's your home form that's your bread and butter, but this year it's our away form. And I think we've picked up, 20 points of our, or something like that. Yeah. The majority of our points up away from home, which shows we are a much better away team. But what I actually think it boils down to, though, boys, is, for me, I think it's the way we set up. I think it's our tactics. I think, we're not set up to go and dominate teams under Thomas Frank. We're set up to sort of almost counter-attack a lot of teams. And for us, that works away from home, because usually when you go away from home, it's the onus is on the home team to come out a little bit more and play, which sort of helps our game. Whereas when we're at home and we try to play that way, it just doesn't work, because a lot of the times them teams end up sort of sitting back and, looking to counter us. And that's why our home form is absolutely horrid underneath Thomas Frank. I don't think it's anything to do with the fans. I think the fans are only sort of reacting to what they're seeing on the football pitch. And at home, they just know this isn't the way to go about if you want to win games at home and start becoming dominant at home and stuff like that. And that's why you're hearing a lot of the frustrations, a lot of people, a lot of the booing and, chanting, even now, boring Tottenham Hotspur, because regardless of the opposition, we're set up to counterattack them rather than dominate them. And for me, that's why we are so much better away from home than at home.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the boat that when you do play this pragmatic counterattacking style, it can, so often, work, even if it's not very pretty to watch, even if it can be a bit of a slog for us on these watch longs to sort of power through it. You can see why so many teams that have had good away records in the past, I wouldn't say many of them were necessarily always free-flowing football away from home. I think they did sort of dig in a little bit more and did sort of make themselves hard to beat. And when you are that type of team away from home, there's really no shame in that, and it can work. It's just that Spurs are probably finding it hard to then try to be the more expansive, more progressive side at home, because doesn't necessarily suit Thomas Frank's tactics. He's not always necessarily been one of those guys. So it's almost like his tactics do really suit us away from home than they do at home. Dermotron, anything to add to this? Just, do you feel confident that this game is away from home? If it were at home, would you be less confident?
Hell yeah, we're going to whip everyone. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We're the greatest team in the world. I mean, look, I know Dave's shaking his head, but it was to make him happy, make him smile a little bit. Look, we've been dreadful at home.
Good
We
rage
really
bait.
have. Yeah, but I think away from home, we've showed that we're actually a better side away from home because there's no pressure on us, is there? We can go out there, we can relax a little bit, we can give it all. The away fans have been fantastic all season. They really have been. I know we had the boring Tottenham from them. Mind you, that game was absolutely dreadful. But for the majority of it, we've been really good away from home. I think how he sets up away from home at home. And I think that's the problem. And I think the players really don't know what they're doing. They're a bit confused by the tactics, what Thomas Frank is trying to tell them, and what they're trying to achieve. But look, Bournemouth haven't won in the last 11. We really should be rocking up there tonight and winning. Really and truly, we should be. But Dr. Tottenham does come up now and again. So let's hope Dr. Tottenham stays well away tonight and we get 3 points. And everyone can go into the FA Cup game a little bit on a good mood.
Yeah, I think we'll need to even just have any sort of semblance of confidence going into that FA Cup game. You and I were chatting about that just yesterday. I'm just going to welcome in some people that have been piling in here. Like I said before, please, everybody, do smash the like button as you come in. Good to see AK Shags. Hopefully you're keeping okay, AK Shags. The one and only Paul Connor is in the house with us. Saying afternoon to you all on the panel. I just want to see a win today. Don't care if it's scrappy or amazing football. Just want the 3 points. 3 points is a must. Paul, I'm in the same boat as you. Future's bright. Future's lily white. Good to see you. He's talking about the Dr. Tottenham. Hopefully we could try to avoid that today, but we always seem to end up, playing into that narrative. Tim, good to see you in the house as well. Frank is a fraud. Bad appointment. Out of his depth. I'm no fan of Frank either at the minute, Tim. Wayne Bonner saying, good afternoon, folks. Hope you're as well and looking forward to another shit show performance. Wayne, Harmless Potatoes in here as well. Good to see you, Harmless. Hopefully everything's okay with you, my friend. But let's keep pushing this on to Spurs haven't beaten Bournemouth in the last 3 meetings. It's one of those fixtures that just feels uncomfortable. Do Spurs show maybe Bournemouth a bit too much to respect? I'm actually going to throw this one at you, Dave, just because I think it's an interesting question. Why is it that Bournemouth, is it just because they're kind of good now in the last few seasons, or is there something deeper than that?
I just think Iriola's been brave in the way he's sort of come at Tottenham Hotspur. He hasn't really shown us any respect, and I think maybe we have shown them a little bit too much respect, or maybe some of their players a little bit too much respect, and maybe focused on them, maybe focused on what we're trying to do. And I think that's what it comes down to, really, at the end of the day. Like, don't get me wrong. I think, they've picked up some fantastic sort of players over the last, couple of years. But, and they have sort of improved their level. But the reality is, I do think we've shown them a little bit too much respect, in the last few years, and some of their players a little bit too much respect as well.
It's just also, I think it's not even just Iriola. I think it went back to the previous managers of Gary O'Neill, and maybe even before that. It feels like it's been for a while now that Bournemouth has just some reason had our number. It's almost like maybe we underestimate them. Martin, do you think that's the case with Bournemouth? They just, maybe that we look at them as a team of the past, when in actuality, like the last 4 or 5 seasons, they are a much better outfit. Maybe we're not accepting that.
Yeah, but that's the worrying thing. How many teams do we say, oh, they're our bogey team, and we can't get win? We're collecting. It used to be just Chelsea and then Liverpool, and now we're just going through everyone at the minute. But getting back to basics on the size of the club and things like that. We should, just on paper and on revenue and status and buying ability and player quality and all that, we shouldn't even be fearing things. I know life doesn't work like that, but just in their stadium and their revenue and all that, they just should not be someone that we fear. But the fact of the matter is, they do have the better of us. And is that because they come to us and think, well, let's just have a go? If they're bigger than us, let's just have a go, and the shackles are off for them because the pressure ain't on them to beat us. Where with us, if they lose to us, they go, it's just another game. If we lose, we all have a meltdown. So the pressure is different. So what have they got to lose with a lot of these teams that they play? Because they can't compete financially and everything else, and have fans all around the world, and do world tours and everything else. The fact that they can just rock up in there and have a go, and the pressure's off, but we should still be able to manage that. We shouldn't, without being arrogant, we should be able to go there and go toe to toe at least. But they do have the better of us, and I don't know if it is a tactical thing or if it's just something with us that we just pay respect to these teams, where you've got to have that arrogance to go into a game like we did with Poch. Goes, all right, you're going to score 2 or 3, we're going to score 3 or 4. You've got to somehow get to that stage of believing in yourself. But with what we got at the minute, how we are at the minute, we do fear every match we're going into, whether it's home and away, whether it's Arsenal or it's Bournemouth. It's just a reality of where we are, and you know, it's a bit hard to take sometimes because, as I say, in a natural world, we shouldn't be fearing teams like this. But you know, they come to our place and they tore us a new one, and we sit there and go, "How did that happen?" Do you know what I mean? So it's confusing. It's really confusing.
I'm a little bit torn up. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just off the back of what happened in the last game, you know, it was sort of that 1-0 defeat to Bournemouth at home that made sort of Frank change up everything that was working, you know, at the start of the season. And I just wonder, it'd be very interesting to see how he sort of approaches tonight's game, you know, in terms of, does he pay them far too much respect, or does he take the shackles off and go for broke? It'd be very, very interesting, given, you know, he did change up everything for the worst, you know, after that 1-0 defeat.
Yeah, he seems to still be haunted by that game. He still references it to this day. Just a little bit torn on this comment here from Peter Simons. Good to see you, Peter. Hopefully everything's all right with you. Soren, he's saying Bournemouth were excellent against Arsenal last week. Don't start the whole we should beat them. Now, this is the thing. Like, I'm a little bit torn on this because we're losing to everyone. So we got to start beating some teams, you know, at some point. And also Bournemouth, they have literally not won a game in the last 11 games. So they are up for the taking, as good a football as they play. But then at the same time, I see where he's coming from. Every time I watch Bournemouth, they are an exciting team to watch. They don't seem to fear anyone, despite their terrible run of results. They're almost a bit like an Ange team maybe this season, in that they just sort of play the same way every time, and it's very fun to watch, but they're not necessarily picking up the results, kind of like an Ange team. So what do you make of Peter Simon's comment of the whole, don't start the whole we should beat them thing?
Can I just go in quickly? I wasn't making a point that we should beat them. I'm just saying, with the status of our clubs and where we were, and where they are, and revenue-wise, we shouldn't be in that league. And I said the fact that we are is a worrying statement.
I'll take the heat. I think we should beat them. But Soren, do you agree with Peter, or do you kind of on my side of things?
I think any football supporter of any team thinks they should beat everybody that they play. And I mean, realistically, we know teams like City and Liverpool on the days, you know, that they're always the hard ones. But I don't think that we have the right to win anybody, but I do think we should want to win everybody. Football's changed a lot. You know, it's not necessarily that there's a big top 6 anymore, or there's a crap few at the bottom. You just look at the league table this year, last year, and, you know, teams that weren't doing well are doing better, and teams are harder to beat. You know, there isn't the big gulf that there used to be in all the teams. I mean, there certainly is between a few teams, obviously, but I mean, look at Sunderland. Sunderland came up this year, and they're sitting in the top 10. That tells you that teams they're playing better, they're playing harder, they're playing more defensively, they're not conceding, they're scoring more, whichever way you want to look at it. The managers, the players out there, they're a better quality as a whole, rather than, you know, you look at it and you think Sunderland this year shouldn't be doing anywhere near what they're doing. And, you know, we were sat there, and I know we were all down a little bit on Sunday, thinking, you know, any normal time we'd have been expecting to absolutely thrash Sunderland. We wouldn't have been expecting a 0-0, 1-1, whatever. We'd have been expecting 3-4-0. But you look at it and you think, well, Bournemouth are a Premiership team now. They've not just come up; they've been here a season or two, and there are no pushovers anymore. No team in the Premier League is such a pushover anymore. And should we be beating them? Yeah, we should be beating them. But that's just going on how we feel that, you know, we support a big, massive club in Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, like Martin said, revenues and things like that, if you take all that into account, we should be top 3, top 4 in the league, but we're not. So should we, as a realistic fan, should we be beating them? We'd hope to, but it doesn't. We don't have the privilege or the right to go and beat anybody anymore.
Yeah, I sort of understand the comment. For me, like, I understand where Peter's coming from. If you're taking it off last season's form, this season's form in the Premier League, maybe it is a bit of a stretch to say, well, we should walk in there and we should be beating them off the pitch and stuff. I fully understand it from that point of view. But, you know, when you put it into context of the size of the two clubs, you know, the resources of the two clubs, the wages, the fees that the two clubs pay and stuff like that, and in general, where we've been in the Premier League and, you know, we're Europa League champions and stuff like that compared to them, yeah, we should be beating them. You know, we should be beating them. And at the end of the day, you know, if we want to climb into the top half and sort of go after European spot, these are teams you have to be beating along your way. And they're not in great form at the minute. 11 games unbeaten. You know, they're there for the take. Or 11 games without a win. They're there for the taking. So there's no reason why we can't, you know, take all 3 points here today. You know, just as much as our confidence is shattered, so is theirs.
I mean, if you put it down on paper, if you put it down on paper and ask 1,000 people who's going to win, Tottenham or Bournemouth, most people would put, you know, and I'm not talking about fans of Tottenham or fans of Bournemouth, but as a general that know about the teams but don't necessarily know how they're playing at the moment, most people would say Tottenham are going to win it because they are the more recognised name in football. But unfortunately, the way the game is going right now for us as Tottenham fans, we are not nailed on to do it.
I just even form on paper. That's what I would just say. Like, I get it. Like, Bournemouth played this very exciting, expansive brand of football. Like, they give every team a good game, but look at their record this season. Like, I've even joked to Dave, I was like, how are Bournemouth below us? Like, every time I watch them, they look good, but they're not picking up wins. They're not picking up points. I think they very much remind me of sort of maybe the team that we were last season, where it was kind of like, we look good, but we're actually not winning. You know, we're kind of everyone's favorite team to watch, but for some reason, at the same time, we're losing games on a pretty regular basis. I think they're kind of one of those sides this season. So I do see where Peter's coming from in that they don't look like a pushover type side, but they have a worse record than us in the last 11 games, which is a hard feat to do because we look like one of the worst teams in the last 11 games in the Premier League. Looks like I'll come back to Dermatron on this one because he sent in a very generous super sticker. Go ahead.
One quick thing, Jack, that we've got to think about is when you look at the two teams, which is the big, you know, it's a bigger game for Bournemouth to beat us than it is for us to beat Bournemouth in the sense. So it's, if you're looking at teams that want to motivate themselves on who they're playing, Bournemouth are going to probably be easier motivated to play Tottenham than Tottenham motivated to play Bournemouth. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Bournemouth. I just, you know, that's the way. The bigger club is Tottenham on paper. But, you know, it's a bigger match for Bournemouth than it is for Tottenham in the sense. If, you know, as you look at it, it's obviously a big game for us because of the way we're playing.
Yeah. Dermatron, are you there or should I come back to you? That doesn't sound like he's there. Big up to Dermatron for the very generous super sticker. And then he's also gifted out a membership to the one and only Mike Zappa. Big up to you, Mike. Really do appreciate you for being in the house. And then do join us on the next fan show next week, please, sir. We going back to an old style format. So hopefully if you're new to the whole thing, maybe you can feel comfortable that way. Sort of having just a one-on-one session with us. Big up to you, Mike. And thank you, Dermatron, for the very generous support. I'll come to you on this one, Dave, because I think it is interesting, you know, sort of way to look at sort of maybe how the fan base is doing. I wanted to come to Dermot on this because I know that he could probably give me a happy clapping answer and then be able to go to Soren or yourself afterwards to see how they're feeling. But Spurs fans, we have to be brutally honest, Dave. We're just a couple of hours before kickoff, but how are we really doing maybe as a fan base right now? Is there a genuine excitement or is there more anxiety and maybe emotional fatigue already with Spurs at this stage? Because when you sort of speak to a lot of fans, a lot of them are saying that the excitement just isn't there anymore. I've already seen that from a few people in the chat tonight. They're turning up already deflated before the game even starts. Is that just down to the results, performances, a loss of trust in the Thomas Frank the Engine project? What do you make of that?
Look, it's a sad indictment, I think, of where Tottenham is at, you know, and look, fans are. The reality is, you know, you speak to match day going fans when they turn up to the stadium. A lot of people are already sort of deflated or defeated before balls even kick. You see that around a lot of the channels as well, you know, around on YouTube. Well, if you look into a lot of the thoughts that people post on Twitter and stuff like that, you sort of see the same thing. You know, everyone's sort of just been beaten down over the last, you know, season and a half, you know, with what's gone on at the football club. And I think, you know, I think it's a mixture of all of the three that you said there, Jack. I think, you know, results have taken a complete nosedive to what we were used to. Performances are well below par than what we expect and what we demand as a top six club. League position will show you that, you know, over the last two seasons. But also, I think a big part of it is, you know, the last two seasons, you know, a lot of people lost faith in Ange Postecoglou last year, and a lot of people have already lost, you know, faith with Thomas Frank sort of six months into the project. And you know, also when fans have been told that they're the problem, they're not allowed to exercise their voice or, you know, withhold standards around this football club. When the managers are dividing the away fans with the home fans and stuff like that, you know, we wonder why it's so toxic. You know, because at the end of the day, we feed off the messaging and people getting tried into their camps. I'm a home fan, I'm a away fan, I'm a fan that watches around the world, and there's my opinion. And you know, everyone in the club has sort of tried to come out and divided the whole fan base. But not only that, there's no rapport or connection between this squad of players and this you know, fan base a lot as well. You see that, and which is sad actually, considering we're only off the back of winning the Europa League not so long ago. It's really sad where they're at this point. But then you go deeper. There's no trust with, you know, the fans and the ownership of this football club, despite the Lewis family stepping in, you know, and sort of taking over the reins from Daniel Levy. There's still you know, there's still no trust in it. There's no belief that they're going to bring in the right quality players to sort of fix this mess out instantly on the pitch. You know, the type of quality players that can provide you the individual moments that put the points on the board regularly. You know, there's no belief in the guys, you know, the director of footballs to bring in them right players. There's no belief in the manager to identify the right players or to even play them. You know, you look at some of the players he's already been given, a lot of them have rode the bench for the first half of this season. So there's just a lack of belief in absolutely everything at this football club, and that's where it comes down to, Jack. And you know, all the wrong decisions that fans have been moaning about for years have finally come back to haunt us, and here we are. And you know, yeah, even though fans were the ones that tried to, you know, air their opinion, say that things were wrong, try to protest and do everything they can sort of to try and fix the issues at the football club so it didn't get into this sort of state or didn't get into this mess, you know, of just falling on deaf ears. And yet they continually tell us, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. You should just pay your money and happy clap like seals, eat your prawn sandwiches and fuck off home. You shouldn't have an opinion, but it just doesn't work like that. And in all regards, you know, the whole club is broken from top to bottom, you know, from inside to out, no matter where you want to dress it up. And that's where the lack of belief comes into heading into these games now. Look, you know, I'm one of them. I've been sick the last couple of days, and I've sort of just been flicking back through my time on YouTube and that. And, you know, you can sort of see over the years my energy and my belief going into games is completely drained and waned from where it used to be. You know, I'm just being beaten up. So even the most positive and optimistic people can be beaten up.
Dave was having Spurs fever dreams, which I don't recommend on anyone. Dermotron, I wanted to come into you on this question because there is maybe that sort of divide between the club and the fan base, like Paul Connor is saying here at Playful Spurs. What do you think? You know, I think you're one of these guys that does maybe know how to sort of put his finger on the pulse of the fan base. Why is it that maybe already at this stage of the season, it does feel like people are already a little bit disconnected? They're kind of feeling deflated going into these games. Is it down to just the results have been so poor? Is it down to the bad performances? Is it down to already a loss in the trust of the Thomas Frank project? What do you put it down to?
I think it's a bit of everything. I think it's the way that we're playing, especially at home. I think it's we've lost trust in Thomas Frank. The way that he's attacked the fans, the players have attacked the fans as well, especially Porro coming out and saying what he said, Thomas Frank coming out and saying what he said. I think what got me when Porro came out and said only true Tottenham fans, you know, that comment. And I'm thinking, who the hell are you to say that? We're all true Tottenham fans. Doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on, if you're for Frank, against Frank, or you're for the ownership or against the ownership. We're all true Tottenham fans at the end of the day. And I think the fans have had enough. I think we've had enough of the bullshit we've been watching for the last 25 years, I think we've had enough of seeing managers come and go. We've had enough of seeing players not putting an effort, not trying in games, especially this season. You look at performances away at Nottingham Forest, or you look at performances where we should be winning and we haven't, but we come against teams like Liverpool or Manchester City, we're busting the gut. And I think it's a combination of everything. And I think Dave hit the ball. I think Dave hit the nail on the head, what he's saying. You can be the most optimistic fan and you can feel like you've been beaten to the ground. Me and Dave are probably, and Soren, a few of us on here, are rarely the most optimistic fans on YouTube. And now we're getting to the point where we feel that we've been beaten to the ground and all this. I don't trust the players. I don't trust the manager. I don't trust the club. I've fallen out of love with the club. If it wasn't for my channel and doing the content I do, I wouldn't be bothered watching Tottenham. I'd just give up and just say, right, I'm going to watch something else for the season because they've beaten it out of us. And we need something. We thought we got it with the Europa League win. And again, we haven't built on that. Thomas Frank said at the beginning of in the summer, I want to build on Ange Postecoglou's shoulders of success. Well, he's done a great job. He's now down at Ange Postecoglou's backside. That's how far he's building from at the moment. So it's going to take a lot, I think, for the fans to rebuild this trust within the club, and the club trusting the fans and the fans trusting what the club do. I don't know what it would do to bring it back again, Jack. I really don't. But I think the last time we were united as a whole club and a fan base, for me, Martin probably remember this, was 1984, when Danny Thomas missed that penalty against Anderlecht, and the whole club sang "There's only one Danny Thomas." Even Steve Perriman said that night it was the last time we were united as one unit. Maybe the Europa League final we were, maybe the run to that in some of them games where we united. But I think if we get new owners, a new manager, and a new way of back to there is to do, back to the club being the club we know and love, then maybe we might be united once again. But I can't see for the foreseeable future, and that breaks my heart. That really breaks my heart, because we're a fantastic club. We've got the best fans in the world. We've got the best away fans in the world. We do have the best home fans as well. And it's so sad to see us how beaten down we've become as a football club and as a fan base. And one day we will be united again, but I can't see it anytime soon. And that, as I said, that breaks my heart.
Just wanted to say hello to Adrian Schroka. Big up to you, Adrian. Hopefully everything's all right with you. He's just bringing up the Bournemouth away record. But I think as well, just for sake of respect, we'll bring up that some saddening news that Peter Simons is bringing up, a few people, and as well as Soren in the back end, that Martin Chivers has passed away. Dave and I actually, when the first time I ever got to see the Spurs Stadium, I actually was able to do a tour with him, and he was a really, really classy guy. And it's also really sad because it was only a couple of years ago. He looked like he was in fantastic shape. I was sort of asking him about his away trips to Belgrade and, teams like that, Red Star. And he was just talking about what the game was like back then. And he had a real strut in his step. I'm actually quite surprised to see that it's maybe taken such a turn. But Spurs have just posted this. They're saying it is with immense sadness that we announce the passing of our legendary former striker, Martin Chivers. We extend our deepest sympathies to Martin's family, friends, and former teammates at this incredibly sad time. Our players will wear black armbands during this evening's fixture against Bournemouth. Rest in peace, Martin, one of the all-time greats. I will say, too, if you've ever seen him in person, he's absolutely massive, even at his age. Like, the guy is like a giant, really. They don't seem to make him like him anymore. Soren, Martin, now come to Dermot as well. Anything to say to them? I mean, that it really is saddening news. And like I said, he looked like he was in great shape just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, just for me, just love to all the family and everyone around him that's we're associated as fans, and hold them up there, but the real people around him are the real people that are affected. So my love goes out to all of them.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's anybody that's a Tottenham fan and has anything to do with history will know that name. And it's a sad time, but it brings into perspective of just how delicate life is. And it's just a quick one for those that are in any of the WhatsApp chats. Adam, he lost his uncle, I think it was, as well this morning. So a big shout out to Adam. But yeah, it's a sad time, and you know, thoughts go out to his family, friends, teammates that are still about, and you know, the whole Tottenham family. It's a name that we all should know, and if you don't know, then as somebody in the YouTube things would say, get to know. Yeah, it's sad time.
Yeah, same as everyone. My condolences to him and to his family and friends. A two-time League Cup winner with Tottenham, a UEFA Cup winner in 1972 with Tottenham as well. A fantastic striker. Really was the striker that took on the mantle from Jimmy Greaves when Jimmy Greaves went to West Ham at the end of the 60s and early 70s. Martin Chivers was that man who really was the man to take on the mantle. And we didn't really replace him until we got Brath Cooks, and I think, and Steve Archibald in the early 80s under Keith Birkinshaw. England international as well, I think, as well for England. I can't remember how many times he played for England, but a fantastic striker. And a little thing for me, Dave and Jack got me his autograph on with his picture from that thing, and I still have that in a frame, and I have it on my desk, and it will remain there. Do you know what I mean? A fantastic person, a fantastic player, but what a hell of a striker. And he had bad knees as well. He had one dodgy knee. He really did. And I think he banged in 30 goals in one season. He really was the man to take on the baton from Jimmy Greaves. But yeah, condolences to his family and to his friends and Tottenham and the whole wider Tottenham family. But a sad, sad loss today. We need to win tonight now. We need to win for Martin Chivers tonight and get that 3 points on the board.
Hopefully he can bestow something on one of our strikers, one of our centre forwards, you know, and they can score a goal. But, you know, just to have my quick say on it as well, I think, you know, look, a bit before my time, obviously I knew about him, you know, my dad's told me about him and stuff like that. And but honestly, it was amazing, that stadium tour, to sort of spend the afternoon in his presence, and the presence of someone that's been there, done it, and you know how generous he was with his time with any individual, anyone that went, you know, around asking him questions. You know, during the tour, he would take time out to speak to them. You know, he gave us all time at the very end to sort of sit there and ask questions, even going up at the end if we wanted any more questions to be answered and stuff like that. And just hearing about, you know, his stories about, you know, his knee injuries and, you know, how he overcome it and stuff like that. And then also, you know, hearing about his trip out in Belgrade, like Jack was saying, and stuff like that. And, you know, him describing some of his goals. And I have to say, an absolute gentleman. And it was a pleasure to spend that day in his company, I have to say. I think he was huge as well. He was towering over people. He looked like in good health at the time, you know, and fair play to him. You could see he would have been a handful in the day, you know, given the size of him.
It was a real pleasure. I think he even gave us like 4 hours of his time, if not more, too. I'm not sure how long those tours often go for, but I imagine that's around the ceiling, you know, or cap of it. Like, he really spent nearly half a day with us, you know, and just was willing to answer anyone's questions, and, you know, was sort of zipping around the place as well, to be fair to him. You know, we did a lot of walking that day. So absolute class individual. And when people do say, you know, the number 9s, you know, are, you know, no longer the way they were anymore, you know, in the past, you know, you kind of then look at him, just him towering over everybody. You sort of are maybe reminded that, yeah, maybe there is some truth to that they just don't really make him like him anymore. So rest in peace to Martin Chivers. And of course, condolences to friends, family, you know, teammates, and everyone that's, of course, been around to share life with him. I'm going to throw this one at you, Martin. We're going to try to, you know, talk about, of course, you know, the game at hand here. How big is this game for you in terms of maybe league position and maybe momentum? Because Spurs and Bournemouth, they're not too far apart from each other. They're on 23 points. We're on 27 points. We're in 13th position. We're only like 4 or 5 points away from getting inside the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. So how big is this game really in terms of just trying to build some momentum, really?
For me, it's massive. So I think the last couple of games, at that last 3, you know, if we'd have picked up wins there, I know it's easy to say just get 3 wins, but you know, I think the Bournemouth game was just, we didn't play to win, so we sort of threw that one. I think we give it a go the weekend. You know, we beat Palace. All of a sudden, life would be different. We'd be pressure off. And we'd be sitting there saying the shit football, but we're winning, we can handle it, we're knocking around the European places. If we can stay there, the whole mood changes. And, you know, where we are at the minute, where we all feel so beaten down, and as Dermo was saying, I could miss the game if you wanted, and things like that. It's just a sad indictment. So if he can pick up a win tonight, and let's say we beat Villa the weekend, all of a sudden there's a bit of hope, there's a bit of momentum. Team wise, squad wise, player wise, we're at bare bones here. We ain't got many options to do many things. So the players we have got now are going to be running into the ground, and we are going to risk picking up injuries like we have with Kudus now. So, but we can't think about what's happening to a player's legs in 2 weeks' time. We've got to worry about it tonight. And, it's a horrible position to be in, but that is our reality. So for me, 3 points tonight. Listen, I always like to say a good performance will make me feel better. And it would. But ultimately, at the minute, if we can get points, and we've been knocking around 12th, 13th, 14th, and I'm not liking it. We can get to 8th, 9th, and in the week after, we can get up to 6th, 7th. All of a sudden, you can handle it a bit more, and you might have a bit of hope. Like when you asked at the beginning how you feel again this game, we're all beaten down. If you can go into that with a little bit more hope, because the league position tells you are, and things ain't so bad, you might look at it through a different set of eyes, and you might be able to find a bit of confidence and then see how we go. But at the minute, if we lose tonight, we're going to all be sitting here going, well, that's season wrote off for us, because I can't see us getting back there. So we've missed too many chances to knock on that door to get up there a bit. We can't keep missing them chances. We have to take one of them and then start and go, right, there we go. Now we build from here. At least just put something in the bag.
Spot on there, Martin, actually. I think that's kind of feels like the case this season. And Dave and I have been talking about that a lot, where the league has been so competitive this season that when you have lost a game, it hasn't necessarily been detrimental to slipping down the league. But at the same time, like at some point, this has got to give. At some point, you do got to start picking up these wins. And then you will find yourself 6th, 8th position, 5th position. I'm not, like it's really crazy just how we're so close to the bottom end of the table, but we're still somehow, some way so close towards the top end of the table. And for me, Soren, I feel like there would be maybe less drama, less tension around the fan base if we were maybe closer to 7th, 8th position. And if we pick up a win tonight, we're that much closer. Even Paul Connor said we could go 8th if we win tonight.
Yeah, I think the big problem is it's not so much picking up the points, it's the way we're playing as well. We can pick 3 points up tonight, and it feels suddenly rosy a little bit. And then you go into the next match and we play shit and we maybe draw or lose, and everybody's back down again. But I think there'd be a lot more understanding and a lot more patience if we could actually see performances from the team. And as much as, while we're playing bad, 3 points is brilliant, and, we come away with a scrappy win, it kind of soon gets forgotten. That's the problem. We need a little bit more to hang on to. We need some sort of performance. I mean, Sunday for me was a good starting point. Yeah, we came away with a draw. We should have maybe won. Performance was a lot better. And if you see that performance getting better, the fans can still stomach a loss if we have to. But if the performance is bad and we lose or we draw, then there's nothing to grasp onto. We need some hope. We need something to think we're turning a corner. So as much as 3 points tonight is it's a must almost, I still want to see performance. I don't want some scrappy, lucky win. I want a performance and a win. That's where I'm at. I think we've got to start showing that we're a team that we're not just being lucky by getting 3 points or a point or whatever. We've played for it. We've shown some passion. We need the passion. We need something to hold on to.
Fair play to Soren there, Dave. He's not lowering his standards going into this game. He's saying he wants a good performance and 3 points.
Yeah, look, I think ultimately, I think people want the performances, but I think where we're at, it's just about scrapping 3 points, and I think y'all hoping that the confidence and performances will sort of start to follow. I think when you look at the context of, say, where both teams are at in the league, you know, we're sitting in 13th right now on 27 points. Bournemouth are sitting 15th on 23 points. So tonight, like, if we end up losing tonight, all of a sudden we're being dragged down into that scrap.
100%.
Something that we need to avoid. You know, so we have to at least pull out a draw out of the bag just to keep that gap, because I know everyone's looking up at the table and going, oh, but we're only, you know, so many points off fifth. But how many of them teams above us have we actually beaten this season? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, I think it's a bit of wishful thinking. You know, I sort of realized where we were, you know, very early on in the season. I realized that, you know, I didn't think Frank was the guy, and that, you know, the way we were playing, I warned everybody, strap in, buckle up. Every game is going to be a scrap. Don't expect entertaining, sexy football. It is not going to happen this season. And it sort of panned out that way. Now I just think the players need to sort of get themselves into that mindset sort of right now as well. I think it'll do them the world of good, to be honest with you. But, you know, today's just not about, it's just about avoiding being pulled into scrap. And to Martin's point, there's only so many misses you're going to get away with before it becomes detrimental, before you don't get them opportunities again. And, you know, tonight is one of them. You know, we haven't lost in our last 3 games. I think, 1 win and 2 draws. You know, Bournemouth are on 11 game unbeaten, or 11 game without a win. Our away form, we're much better away from home. Tonight is probably going to be one of our last chances to drag ourselves up into contention for one of them European spots come the end of the season. So we have to make it count tonight. We have to go there and win. But I will warn the people, Bournemouth away hasn't been easy for Tottenham Hotspur to go to. I remember even under Antonio Conte, I think it was Bentancur and a late revival that saved their ass that day. You know, it's been a difficult ground for us to go to pick up points. It is going to be a scrap tonight. But we can't afford to be dragged down into that scrap, because you know, I think we'd be lucky that the 3 teams, you know, in the relegation zone right now are just absolutely woeful. It means we won't get relegated. But, you know, it's just not a good place for Tottenham to be in that scrap. And I don't think we've got the players that would relish that sort of thing. And I don't think we have the manager that knows how to sort of get us out of it. So tonight, I think is absolutely crucial with momentum. You've got the FA Cup game coming up as well. I think that doesn't go well. I think the writing is on the wall, you know, for Thomas Frank, and I think we'll end up just sticking with it until the right man does sort of become available. But tonight is about not being dragged down and about looking ahead. We have to take 3 points.
Well said. J Max saying, I agree with Soren. Yes, you're happy with the 3 points, but ultimately the performances don't give me any confidence moving forward that the football will improve. J Max on the exact same boat as you there, Soren. Fazzy Radfar coming in here. Appreciate you, Faz, saying happy to change my name as long as we start scoring some goals. Maybe towards the end, we'll get a nice Dermatron 4-0 prediction from you, Faz, and maybe that will sort of change your mind, or at least, you know, cheer you up a little bit. Appreciate your support, my friend. Alan Leslie's in for 19 months as a member. Big up to you, Alan. Saying we need a positive performance tonight. Big up to you, Alan. Sounds like you're in the same boat as Soren tonight, where it's about having a good performance, but also 3 points. Maybe I'm just being a guy that's lowering the standards at the minute. I just think 3 points could go a very long way. I think we had semblance of a good performance against Sunderland, whereas away from home, I can maybe tolerate sometimes maybe the performance not being as good, as long as we are finding a way to sort of chip our way back into the top 10, and then I'll start to be a bit happier with where we are. Just going to welcome in some other people. We have Matty Bynum. Good to see Matty Bynum say, I'm not excited about tonight. Semenyo playing his last game for Bournemouth, and he is a gooner at heart. Scared for whoever is on our right-hand side is probably going to be Pedro Porro. I had to talk about that on the predicted lineup. I'm a little bit worried if Pedro Porro has learned his lesson from last time he faced him. If I hadn't said hello to Stevie Frazier, forgive me, Stevie. Hopefully you're okay. And also some very nice words from Paul Shepard. Do appreciate your support as a member, and also very nice words for Martin Chivers. Mary W's in the house as well. Good to see you, Mary W. Absolute legend. Wirecloth, great name as well. Hopefully everything's all right with you. And then William Webb saying we need to qualify for Europa Cup this season, at least to have a chance at signing some quality players. Dermatron, we have one here from Ryan McFarland saying 3 points. I'd be impressed if we have 3 forward passes this game.
So would I, actually. I think I've fallen off my chair and amazed me if we've got three forward passes. I mean, we've seen more sideways and backward passes in the last few games than I've ever seen in my entire life. But no, 3 points is vital tonight, isn't it? It really is. And with the FA Cup coming Saturday, I've been saying it, that if we do go out the FA Cup, then I think Thomas Frank is on the edge of going. But the problem is, with that, who are you going to get in to replace him? who's going to come in and vitalize this team or get this team going to get back to winning ways? Because the Man United job's up available. The Liverpool job could be available very soon if it's led to believe that Slot could be getting the sack. And which manager in the right mind will come to us now? I don't think we're going to get any world-class manager. Xavi will probably go to Manchester United or Liverpool. So I think tonight it's vital. We'll get 3 points tonight. Yes, I do agree with Soren. I would love a great performance, but I think I'm with you lads up the top. A win is a win. Just grab 3 points tonight. I don't care if it's a scrappy, I don't care if it's a performance like we had with Palace. 1-0, scrappy, dug in. We dug out the result. We got into trenches and we fought it out. A win is a win. 3 points gets you up that table. And then with the rest of it, get a few players back, get Kulu back, get Solanke back, and then maybe the performances might start getting better. But I think just 3 points now. Get 3 points. Let's get them in the bag. And let's just get a bit of momentum and a bit more confidence into ourselves. And then the good performances will follow once we get the wins. And that's what it is, isn't it? It's about confidence. Wins breeds confidence. Confidence breeds more better performances. So it goes hand in hand. So get 3 points tonight and let's win tonight. Hopefully, well, we will get a result on Saturday because we are going to win the FA Cup. It's our year. We're on our way to Wembley. And then get the performances to follow.
Wayne Bonner responding to you there, Ryan. Really appreciate your support, by the way, Ryan. That's very generous. Wayne Bonner saying, what in the blue hell's a forward pass? I think we've started to forget. Good to see James as well in the house saying, anyone, I'd have Martin O'Neill if Celtic hadn't poached him. I'm starting to read that stage. Like, I do feel like almost anybody could do a better job, with how things have been going, but I might be a bit naive. I am in sort of a similar boat there. Dan Coy's, always good to see you. Leighton Evelyn, always good to see you as well. The best happy clapper in the business. And if anyone wants to stop the show or if anyone wants to get their say in, feel free to do it. Ryan has done, Alan has done, Fazzy Radfar, Dermatron. We do really appreciate the extra support, and we are trying to get to your comments as much as possible. Going to throw this one at you, Soren. Spurs have only won 2 of their last 11 league games. How concerning is this run? 2 wins in 11 games by any standard at this club is usually unacceptable form. It's not just a must win in terms of the confidence. Is it must win in terms of maybe Thomas Frank getting backing from the club in January? What do you make of that? Just how concerning this run has been.
It's one of those where you say 2 out of 11, and we've kind of almost got used to it over the last few years.
Yeah, it's true.
Look, I get where everybody's coming in and saying just get 3 points. It's the most important. And look, none of us are going to turn down 3 points tonight. It doesn't matter how we win. 3 points is 3 points. But for me, we need the confidence, and 3 points can give you confidence. But if it's an own goal and you've been under the cosh, it doesn't bring you a lot of confidence. Whereas if you go out and you play well, and by playing well, I'm not talking about absolutely dominate. Just a game like Sunday where you had something to cling on to. You've got some hope in the game. You look as though you know what you're doing on the pitch. 3 points, that to me is the start of building confidence, where the players start to click, that everything comes forward. But look, two wins out of 11 for a team as us fans like to think we're a big team is not good enough under any circumstances. We had this last year, and it's no different this year. And look, I wasn't a Thomas Frank fan. I didn't want him, same as Ange when he started, but he's my manager. I'll back him to the hilt. But please, for the love of God, come summer, get rid of him and go get Nagelsmann. Forget Poch, go get Nagelsmann, and let's actually move this club forward.
I'm in a similar, just not even the whole, I don't even know if we need to necessarily get into who would come, who wouldn't, but I'm kind of in a torn position like Soren is, where I'm like, who do you bring in when there's creme de la crop, in the summer. So it's you're sort of a rock and a hard place, with who you
offer
you do
them
right
the
now.
right deal, offer a manager the right deal and money and whatever, they'll come.
Luis Enrique is available in the summer. It's just insane, what could be. It's
Luis Enrique. Look, there's going to be probably three clubs in the Premiership, big clubs looking for managers maybe, and Man United, us, Liverpool possibly, and it's whoever moves first. And you've got a couple of managers coming up in the summer that are going to be finishing with their national teams and things like that. And it's going to be interesting to see who moves where. And look, I'm not giving up on Thomas Frank yet. He could still turn it around. I hope he does. And, you know, he's the manager of our club at the moment, and he needs to show why we've taken him on. But if we were to get rid of him, please, for the love of God, go get Nagelsmann, please.
For me, though, I just think I think there's a bit of a reset happening this summer. I think managers will have all the power this summer. There's a lot of managers running down the contracts. A lot of managers will be free after the World Cup, and you know, I think a lot of them will sort of pick their clubs and, you know, sort of get their demands and stuff, which you might see a shift back to the old managerial ways, because a lot now what you're seeing is actually head coaches, and I think fans look at it from a wrong perspective. You know, fans will look at it and go, well, this guy, if he can, you know, yeah, the style of play, but then, you know, he's going to bring in his players and stuff. Clubs don't operate like that anymore. Clubs operate with directors of football. They bring in the players, and it's up to the manager. It's up to whoever they bring in to coach them players to get the best out of it. That's what you're seeing every single club operate. So when we're looking at it from, like, if we do end up changing the manager, we should be looking at who's going to come in with what we've currently got and make it work with their tactics and stuff like that, because they don't yield the same power at football clubs they once did. You know, that's why Maresca walked out of Chelsea. You know, that's why Amorim, you know, to a degree, is walking out of Man United. They're not getting what they want, you know. And I think, you know, at Tottenham Hotspur, it's been that structure for a while where, you know, it's up to manager to get the best out of them. That's why they're all signing on as head coaches now and not being given managerial contracts. They're being signed on as head coaches. So, but I think that might change in the summer with the amount of managers that are going to become available. The power is back in their hands, so to speak. But also, like, you know, look, I didn't want Frank to be given the job in the first place. And I think everything I said or tried to point out in the summer, you know, I think is sort of panned out that way. And at the end of the day, I don't want to hang on to the guy. But realistically, United are sacking their manager, talking about bringing in guys as an intern till the summer. Chelsea have brought in Liam Rosner. He'll probably be gone in the summer, you know, if they find someone bigger and better available and stuff like that. So, you know, what you're actually seeing is the guy isn't out there. So I think as much as I can sit here and reminisce about Thomas Frank, I think it's just going to be a marriage of convenience to the end of the season, just like it was with Ange Postecoglou season, personally.
No, I'm in a similar boat to you, Dave. I don't know what to think, because I feel like you can't miss out on these excellent managers that will be in the summer. But I'm also just wondering how long this can continue under Thomas Frank. So I'm in a very similar boat to you. It's very confusing.
You commit to a guy now. You're not going to sack him come the summer and bring someone else.
No, that's the issue.
If
you go in early,
yeah,
you go in early, you're going to miss all the opportunities. We might not get who we want, but you're missing the opportunity to be in the conversation. You jump on someone now just because you want Frank out. You could be biting your nose up, spite your face, or whatever it is.
No, it would feel like it would have to be a Redknapp or a Ledley King or something type situation, like, or someone that would just come in on an interim basis. It doesn't feel like even what Chelsea have done, like with signing, you know, Rosenior, it just seems,
They've given him 6 years.
It's 6 years. Like, he must be on like £10 a week or something like that, you know, if it's for that long of a deal. But even that just seemed confusing to me. I was just sort of like, are they just going to sack him though in the summer anyways? Like, it's just a strange way to go about it. But then I sort of not empathized, because of course I want only the worst for Chelsea, but I sort of did see, I was like, yeah, it is a tricky situation that they find themselves in, knowing all these good managers that are available, of course, in the summer. But I am kind of in Soren's boat. Wouldn't mind a Nagelsmann. I wouldn't mind, of course, a Luis Enrique. There's just, it's like all the best people available really this summer. It reminds me of actually when we hired Ange. I remember there was a million good managers available in the summer that we hired Ange, and all of a sudden it's now cycled back. Well, we
interviewed Luis Enrique before Ange. We
were after him. We were after Nagelsmann. We were after Tuchel. We were after.
If you've got Nagelsmann and a Ralph Rangnick upstairs, then you're going to cook. But if you're putting Nagelsmann in with Johan Lang, it ain't going to work. So it has to. The structure has to come in. I know there's a lot of change upstairs, and they're all doing this. Like Vinara's meant to be the PR guy. We ain't heard from him. You know, he puts a few scarves on some seats, and that's about all he's done. So if you're going to get the right manager, you've got to get the right director of football that can work with him, and then I think you can definitely see a change
on that, Mark. Just quickly, sorry. For me, I think Spurs could put themselves in a unique position in the summer by saying to them, look, we'll give you say over the players you bring in for your system. You know, as long as they're sort of playing attacking brand of football that appease the fan base, the fans will go with it. And then sort of give them the power that managers are used to having, where that has been taken off them. If Spurs can do that, I think then you put yourself in the position for a high caliber manager above some other clubs.
Yeah, the structure has to be right. However you want to do it, it has to be right and pull in the right direction between that, the manager and whoever's buying the players. They have to be. They can't all be fighting each other. Like with the three you've got now, without knowing, you know that Langer and Frank are aligned a bit more than Paratici. So he's the spare prick at the wedding, isn't he? So you can understand why he wants to go. So it has to be the right people in. If you're going to go with that structure, it has to be the right people. And then the people at the top, in it 2.0, who want to win things, just have to go, my trust is in you two. Here's your money, deliver. And then it's on them. And then they've got their fall guys if it don't work, because they can say, we've given them all the tools and all the money and everything they need and everything they want to make us successful.
I mean, the thing is, what you've got to consider with Nagelsmann as well, he's a very similar type of manager to what Poch was. He structures everything around the team and what he wants. And for all those that were saying that, you know, he turned us down last time, no, he didn't. He was never offered the job last time, and he never turned us down. There is a lot more to what went on there than most people think. And that's from the horse's mouth, by the way. He never turned us down. So getting him in would be a better version of Poch. Poch is the dream that all fans want because we think it's going to be rosy, and it won't be. He is not going to be the same as what it was last time. We just have to look back at the Poch era and think how great it was, because it will never be that again.
The only thing, very quick on this. The only one fans are going to give time to is Poch. I think any other manager come in here, they are going to be in the short time. They're going to be in a short leash. The only ones the fans will give time to and get behind is Pochettino. As sad as that is, you could have look. Maybe so. Maybe you know, you can disagree. It's just my opinion. It's just how I
turn on Poch so quick. It will be the worst thing ever.
Personally, myself, I would like Xavi to come in. That's my choice for manager. I would love Xavi to get the job more than Poch.
Bad players, though, is he?
No, he isn't. I know that. But for me personally, that's who I'd love to get in. I wouldn't like a Nagelsmann. I prefer a Xavi personally. But you know, Thomas Frank's the manager. It's all hypotheticals, isn't it? We're all being hypothetical. Who we would like and what we would like. But Thomas Frank's the man until he's no longer the manager.
Yeah.
I'm going to take some of these comments and support Logan THFC. Really do appreciate you, my friend. He's thrown on the shades with his super sticker, by the way. Really do appreciate you. He's saying, good evening, fellas. Big up to all in the panel. I think he also said hello to Dermo as well. Dermatron has gifted out another membership. It's gone to the best happy clapper in the business, Leighton Evelyn. Leighton would love to actually have a sit down with you. It'd be nice to know. Maybe you could go through your top 5, top 10, disagreements with myself or Dave, because I know you love to have maybe a difference of opinion. And sometimes you think we do go into these games a little bit overly optimistic. Really appreciate your support, Dermatron. And thank you, Logan THFC. And then No Passanata, great name. He's saying the game is about glory. It's about doing things in style with the flourish, about going and beating the other lot, not just waiting for them to die of boredom. We must not forget this. It's almost like Thomas Frank has like a syringe of boredom juice or something that he injects into the opposition, just hopes for a slow
pain. That's the comment of the season so far.
Must not die of boredom. To dare is to die of boredom. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I think he's absolutely spot on. I think that's one thing that's sort of lost in football nowadays, that you do it your way, but you do it in style, where you go out with your chest sort of pumped up. You do it in a swag, a manner that everyone sort of is fearful of and respects of. at the end of the day, our motto is to dare is to do. And some of our best my best times in my lifetimes have been under managers that have sort of didn't really care about, our defensive frailties. Just said it's okay, we'll go and score more than you, or at least try and go score more than you. Pochettino, Redknapp, Martin Yeo, managers like that. For me, they were the best times of my lifetime. You go before that, you have people that, Bill Nick and Birkinshaw, and playing their way and stuff like that. So, it's sort of if you go across many generations of Spurs fans, their best times
Even Ozzy, full on attack.
Exactly, have come from when we've gone after teams and we've gone to attack teams and we've scored plenty of goals. And, that's why I always say, that's why I sort of was worried about Thomas Frank coming in here in the first place. It's just sort of, it was never a marriage that ever matches up. Spurs fans, like we know what we are. We know that, up against the big six, we don't spend the money. Maybe we don't have the quality, but sometimes if you go in with the attitude of nothing to lose and to be brave and give it a go, live up to the motto to dare is to do, sometimes you can overcome them hurdles. And we've seen us do it before playing a certain way. And this is the way that many Spurs fans hold on to. Like you hear, now United people going, we want to get back to the United way, or West Ham we want to get back to the West Ham way, but they don't actually have an identity. We do, and we need to build on that and stick with it.
Yeah. I also love his profile picture. No Pasanato. It'd be nice to get into sort of rainbows and sunshine. And just a little something to add. I have mentioned this a few times, so I don't want to bore people to death, like he said there in his chat. But what Thomas Frank, I feel like, is failing to do, no Pasanato, is that he needs to do one or both. I think in his first season, he needs to either really improve on the results, because last season, right, we had literally one of the worst ever campaigns, in Spurs history. So he needed to either deliver results and points on a regular basis enough for people to tolerate the football not being that great to watch, or he needed to straight away pretty much employ and bring in a style of football that we can sort of support, we can get behind. We even saw those comments, right, about Bournemouth. They've lost, or not won in their last 11 games. But whenever you watch them, they're an exciting team to watch. They don't seem to fear anyone. They bring the game to any team they come up against. That was something we were kind of to a degree in the past. And I just think Thomas Frank needs to do one or the other this season. If he has any sort of chance, I think, of keeping his job, really needs to either really improve on the results, get us much closer to that top 5, top 6 bracket, and also push for potentially a trophy run as well. Or the football needs to be so exciting that we can tolerate maybe being lower down the table, as long as we feel like every game we're giving teams, that sort of challenge and playing that sort of nice brand of football, like Dave eloquently put before. So really well said, no Passanata. And I'll be thinking that a lot this season when it comes to Thomas Frank. Boring them to death is the strategy. Tin Man 007, big up, guys. Just want to say that I went to the game on Sunday and had a fan next to me say that it was a good point versus Sunderland, ? Fans are accepting mediocrity. It is worrying. Now, this is what I'll say, Tin Man. Like, maybe I'm in the minority. I thought for 70 to 80% of that game, I felt like we were the better team. But Dave and I, from the get-go, were saying, if we're just going to play, it's almost like playing with your food. If we're just going to play with our food for, the majority of this game, we will eventually get punished, and they will put a goal in the back of the net, and we won't walk out with the 3 points that we deserve. I think we deserve 3 points from that game, but you have to earn it. You have to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. We just couldn't, for whatever reason. It was down to Richarlison wastefulness, Colomwani wastefulness, Oda Bertel not really having that end product, despite them, I think, actually having good games. So I feel like saying a point is, a good point. I would totally disagree, like what you've said there. But I was also a bit frustrated where I did feel like the performance was there to get 3 points. We just weren't good enough on the day to get all 3 points. Anyone can come in off of this, off what Tim Manor said.
I would agree with the fan, because for me, the way we've been playing recently, the fact that Sunderland were in 7th and we were in 14th, it goes back to the discussion we had earlier. Do we have a right to beat these teams? No. Sunderland were certainly the more informed team. And yes, watching the game, we should have had the win. But as Dave will tell you in a minute, we were all sat there before the game predicting at best a 0-0 score, a loss and everything. So to come away with a point for me wasn't a bad result on paper. Yes, we should have won the game, and yes, we should have come away with 3 points, but I was quite happy at the end of the game, the fact that we'd actually put in some sort of performance and come away with a point at least.
I think for me, I was sort of disappointed with how the game ended. You know, we were on top in the first half, we were dominating, you know, went 1-0 up, put ourselves into a good position, and then maybe there was a bit of scaredness in the second half, you know, maybe a bit of, you know, we got to try and get over the line here, maybe crept in, and Sunderland then sort of eventually put us on the back foot. And I was just disappointed how it ended. Look, for me, I'm one of them. I don't like losing. So if not, I'll take a point. You know, even if I don't agree with it, I'll take a point. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's a good point. I don't think it is. You know, I think we should be beating teams like Sunderland at home. Maybe going away from home, you might take it, but at home and with the manner, you know, that I think we were clearly the better side for large portions of that game, I don't think it was a good point. And look, I do think there is an element of Thomas Frank lowering the standards, you know, and there was a lot of clamour for this guy to get the job at the start of the season. Many people, you know, almost hailing him as Mother Teresa, almost like a bit of a miracle worker. And I think it's sort of proven that he's nowhere near that. And, you know, I think, yeah, there's obviously the last few hanging in, but also, Tim, man, that I'm with you. I was at the AC Milan game, and I remember standing there booing the players off the pitch and that. And I remember there was two people in front of me looking down at me and sort of like shocked and stunned that I booed them off the pitch that day. And I'm sort of looking at them. I'm like, what's the problem? You know, and I just sort of learned that day that there is just a group that, you know, there is a portion that go, and the results don't dictate their mood. It doesn't dictate, you know, everything they do that week and stuff like that. They just want to turn up, see 90 minutes of football. You know, if they're on the right side of the scoreline, happy days. And if they're not, they'll just go on about their week until the next game. And there is that element to the fan base. I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. At the end of the day, they pay their money in that. But I certainly I would have been with you on that one, Tim. Man, I'm more on your side of things there.
It must have some.
Think it was sorry.
Yeah, go. No, Dermot. I've got across. Sorry.
I agree with Dave. It wasn't a good point. I agree totally. I think it was all about, we had a good first half, but we didn't take our chances. And I think the game started to turn when Richie was going down the wing. We had Marani in the middle. If he puts the ball in early, Marani's in on goal and he buries it. 2-0 Tottenham. And I think then the game's dead and buried. I think we were 1-0. I think we got nervous. As Dave said, it all crept in. And then you start getting 15 minutes to go. Right, we're going to shut up shop. And then you're inviting pressure onto yourself. And Sunderland hit the post. And I said in my watch along, I said, if they're going to get another chance and they're going to take it. A minute or so later, we're 1-1. I've always had this sort of thing in my head that you win your home games and you come away from home with at least with a point. It was, yeah, first half was great, but 1-1 for me, it felt like a loss. So I have to agree with you, Tim, man, and you, Dave, as well, for what you're saying.
Appreciate your support, Tin Man. Thank you, No Passanata, as well. Very generous support, by the way, and it's a great talking points. Also love your profile picture as well, Tin Man. By the way, it's very funny. Thomas 1980 is saying, big up, everyone. I love this channel and everyone's supporting it. I've been out for a while now, but I am strong today. Dave and Jack, let's bring this beast inside of us and go. Come on, you Spurs. Great motivation there from Thomas. And then Fazzy Radfar saying, yeah, go ahead, Dave. Sorry. My bad.
I was just saying, good to see you, Thomas. Hopefully everything is all right with you, my man. Good to see you back.
Love that idea of bringing the beast out inside us. Needs to come out at some point, Thomas. Faz Radford saying, problem has always been the appointment, not the sacking. Anyone want to come on this? It's just Thomas Frank, you know, maybe just all of a sudden just wasn't maybe the right choice all along. Yeah, go ahead.
I think personally there he's talking about history in a sense with us. I mean, I would hope he is, because I think that's been the problem for a long, long time. It's not necessarily the fact that we've sacked so many managers. It's the fact we've employed the wrong manager in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean by that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you know, we go back, and without taking it too far back, Conte was never the right manager for this club. He was never going to succeed at this club. Mourinho was probably 5 years too late. And you look at Ange. I mean, I don't think Ange was such a bad appointment because of, you know, the fact he did win as a trophy for a change. But I think Thomas Frank was certainly more of a knee jerk. The problem is we go from a defensive manager to an attacking, to a defensive to an attacking. So the squad is always wrong for the next manager. And again,
it's always one squad behind, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, it's you've gone from Ange, who had a fairly attacking type of squad, to Thomas Frank, who's more defensive, and it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't fit the managers anymore. And you look at other teams where they sack a manager, but they bring in a similar style of manager, and it works. And that's where we're going wrong. It's just like, oh yeah,
Sorry, do you think a part of that is on Frank, that if he knew he was coming into that attacking team, and when they've interviewed, he's obviously interviewed well and said what they're going to do. I can't see he's gone in there and gone, do you know what, Silly's attacking, I'm going to just strip it all back, we're going to defend. So if he knows he's got attacking players, and he can do 50% of the training shoring up the defence, but then the attacking coaches work on that, and then somehow the two gel, and you've got some sort of a perfect combination. But I think it's like he's gone defensive. Now, I was one for Frank to come. I'm not like with Dave, my fears weren't there. I sort of got to get a bit gassed with it, so I was all for it. But I do feel he's took that, the attacking. You still can use the attacking players and shore up your defence. He's had his best back four. And then, so let's go, right, look, you four, you stay together every day. We're going to do this, do that. And then the others, work on the going forward. It looks like he's just completely neglected that side of it. And like there was a stat on Sky the other day that in the last 3 games, one midfielder on the opposite side has outpassed or out-progressively passed our entire midfield. That's by design. So I think Frank's at fault for that side of it. Yeah, shore up our defence, but why can't you still use the attacking players that Ange had? And we've added to it with Kudus and Xavi. So there's no excuse for me why he can't shore up the defence and do some attacking as well. And then give us both chances. We can A, not lose, and B, we can win.
Completely agree, Martin.
When you look at Thomas Frank, I mean, he certainly was a manager that you could understand the reasoning behind getting him.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying. Like Dave didn't, I did.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, I've
tried to convince yourself why, like you tried.
Yeah, I've got this daydream that Nagelsmann's going to come in because I think he's the perfect fit for Tottenham, and he probably never will. But Thomas Frank, to me, was kind of the right, maybe not the right person, but the right style of manager to bring in after it had gone so terribly wrong in the league with Ange. Now, the problem was that if you look at the first sort of 6-7 games under Frank, he got it right. Everything was clicking, and then all of a sudden he started to change and tinker, and it's gone wrong, and it's got worse and worse and worse. Now, the comment that I made earlier, because a few people in the chat have said, with Conte was never the right manager to come to Tottenham because we were never going to back him the way he needs to be backed. And you kind of look at Thomas Frank, he's kind of similar, that he hasn't got the right players for what he wants. And I can personally understand him being very defensive because he had to change the mentality of losing. But the problem was he was succeeding with that and then changed it, and it's got worse, and he doesn't know how to rectify that problem now. That's the downside, I think, with Frank. And I can get behind Frank, and if he was the manager for the next 5 years, that's not a problem for me. The problem is that a couple of players will play well, then they're dropped, or he'll rotate when you don't need to rotate. And I don't know. I mean, there just doesn't feel as though he's got the dressing room behind him. And that's the problem, I think, with Thomas Frank. I don't think the players have bought into what he wants.
Uh-huh. No, I mean,
I don't.
Yeah, go ahead, Derma.
I don't. You can get in the number one manager in the world. If that manager's not going to be backed with the players that he needs for his system, and the squad isn't right, every manager coming in this club is going to fail. Because the first thing you have to get right is the squad. The squad has to be built right. This is a poorly put together squad of a mismatch of a bit of Mourinho, a bit of Conte, a bit of Ange, and a bit of everyone. It's square pegs into round holes. Once we sort the squad out, bring a manager in, fully back them. Get rid of the players that need getting rid of. Do that early in the summer. Bring him in early, get him in, do your business early. So at the start of the summer window, you're buying in the players you need. They're there for the start of pre-season. They're there for the whole of pre-season. So they know by the first pre-season game or the first game of the season, they know the manager's philosophy, how he wants them to play, and how he needs them to play. But you could get in, God Almighty, and it would the same thing 8 months in, we want him out because they won't back the manager and we haven't got the squad for that manager. As Martin said, we're one squad behind. We just need to reset completely.
I'm not going to sit here and say we've got a perfect squad, right? Yeah, everyone knows my opinion on the squad over the last few years, and of course it needs improving. But no one was moaning about the squad in the first 7 games.
Yeah.
No one was moaning, sitting there saying the squad quality was crap or it was this or it was that. So I just wonder where this narrative being born out of, and I just wonder is it being born out of the fact that, like for instance, right, Papa Matsar was flying. He took him out of the team for no reason. I've barely seen him since. You lose a player like that. The constant chopping and changing. He brought in Xavi Simons. He spent most of the time on the bench. He's brought in Paulinho recently. He spent most of the time on the bench. Our better players that are performing, for some reason, the guy keeps taking them out of the team one by one. And, with all the overtinkering, I warned about it earlier on in the season when everyone was trying to tell me it's a great idea because of injuries. Well, I mean, that proved to be absolutely ridiculous and completely flawed, that sort of theory. But I warned about at the start of the season, when you're winning games, you keep putting your best team out there to win games, and when injuries or the red zone pops up, you just drop a player in there. You don't keep making all them changes that he kept on making for no reason whatsoever. And he should have let that team breathe and find its confidence and go on that run so that players could understand the patterns, what they're being asked to do, this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, but no one, there's a stat here I brought up. We haven't got onto it there, but I'm just going to get into it because I'm pissed off at this whole squad quality debate. Tottenham are averaging 9.9 shots per game in the Premier League this season. Only 198 shots in 20 games. The only season on Opta's records from 97 to 98 where they have averaged below 11 per match. I'm sorry, no one can tell me what we've got right now isn't better to muster up more than 9 shots on goal. At what point do you look at it and you just go, well, what they're being asked to do, the instructions is bang average. The instructions is bang average. There's clearly been nothing worked on going forward, which means bang average, relying on set pieces and crosses into the box. At what point do you just go, the managers, bang average? Everything he's trying to employ is bang average, like it was at Brentford. It's just not cut out.
By design, 100%.
Name me, the thing is, we sit here and we go, we've got massive attacking problems. But 2 out of the 3 options we've brought in, bar more kudos, I've spent majority time on the bench or playing in different positions, chopping and changing, stuff like that. People say we've got a weak midfield, but when we were winning games and we were beating midfields up, left, right, and centre, João Paulinho was in there. He's took them out. We've lost that sort of combative spirit that we had in there, and he's gone on this trial experiment with Archie Gray and Bentancur and stuff like that. I'm not sitting here saying that this is a squad that should be winning the Premier League, but I'm sorry, I'm refused to lower my standards anymore. I already lowered them for this fucking frizzy-haired fraud coming in here in the first place. I already said I'll take a Europa Conference League position out of the place for this guy. I even said, look, as long as I get a decent cup run, I'm not saying he has to win a trophy, but just give me something to get behind going into the following season. I've lowered absolutely fucking everything about my standards for this guy, and somehow he's managed to fall even below that.
Yep.
I'm absolutely fed up with it. I'm sorry, I'm not saying we have a squad to go and compete for the Premier League, but what we've got now, we should be up there in and around 6th or 7th. I'm not being funny, but you look at the teams ahead of us, and I'm going to bring them up now. I'm sorry, I'm absolutely ruining the way this show was supposed to go.
No, go off, Dave.
But let me just get up the Premier League table now because I'm absolutely fed up with it.
Do we have a worse squad than Sunderland? Do we have a worse squad than Everton, Fulham? People say we have worse squads than Fulham. Brentford. I just refuse to believe that.
United, Brighton, Fulham, Everton, Newcastle? No, I don't. But I question, do they have better managers than what we do?
100%.
I'm not 100%. Sitting here having it anymore. The squad is not as bad as people make it out to be. At the end of the day, if you want to go, well, look at the last 2 seasons. Last season, we finished 17. But everyone wants to miss the most important part of the statement when sacking the manager. We sacrificed the league, and it was a plan within the club, which means everybody was on board for the greater good of a Europa League trophy. What am I sacrificing for this fucking season? I'm not. I've lost my excitement. I'm bored of football right now. And to be honest with you, I'm starting to lose my soul watching this guy. He has drained absolutely everything that I love about the beautiful game out of me. I'm not having it anymore. I'm sorry. This squad is built to go after teams and to go and try and score goals. It is not built to play counter-attacking. And that's where Thomas Frank has got it wrong. He's tried to replicate Brentford ball at Tottenham, and he's turned us into fucking Brentford. You know, I warned how much of it was down to actually the guy at Brentford and his recruitment model, and how much of it was down to Thomas Frank. Brentford are on course for their best season ever with a rookie guy in charge, which speaks to maybe Frank isn't the Messiah and everything that he's painted out to be. Let's just call a spade a spade. This squad was good enough to go and win a Europa League when it was able to prioritize it, which means it's not that bad. And I'm not being funny, but some of these players, they could leave Tottenham and go to bigger clubs if they wanted. There's been interest. So for me, I'm not with it anymore. I'm bored of Thomas Frank. He's not the right guy. I understand where we're at. It's going to be a marriage of convenience to the end of the season. I'm just going to have to bite my tongue as much as possible to get there until the big merry-go-round comes around in the summer and the manager thing. And that's where I'm at with it. But I am sick of everyone telling me this player's shit, that player's shit. It's not. Everything Frank done was wrong from the beginning, which I tried to highlight every step along the way. At what point do you just sit there and go, we took a gamble with a frizzy-haired fraud and it hasn't worked?
I think his hair is fantastic, but I agree with every other point that you've made there, Dave. I just wanted to say quickly, everybody, we are about 15 minutes away from, I believe, the lineups coming out. We are going to have a bit of a conversation about the quality of the squad because I haven't heard Martin's points or Soren's on this. I'd be curious. Just let me finish this point.
Just really quickly ask Dave something. Dave, just to be clear, are you Frank in or Frank out?
Actually, say what you mean next time, Dave.
I didn't quite get it.
Say what you mean.
On a postcard.
I thought he was holding back a little bit, Soren. I agree.
The thing is, I gave the guy as much time as I could, and when we were winning at the start of the season, I was trying to believe and buy into what he was doing. But then, you know, everything started happening that reminded me of everything I brought up in the summer, and I'm just going to stick with my conviction on this that I don't think he's the right guy.
I just wanted to say that there are 400 people watching us on YouTube. I think close to 550 watching us in total on X as well. So please, everybody, if you are over on X, feel free to follow us over to YouTube. And if you are over in the YouTube stream, feel free to smash the like button as well. It does really help out the channel. I'm seeing only about 100 likes. If we could get that to 200, it'd be very appreciative. It does help push out these previews to more and more people. And if you want to get your say in the chat, I'll try my best to put your comments up on screen and engage with them. I think we've done the best we can. But if you want to, of course, get in straight away, you're welcome to do it as a super chat. John Stokes will be touching a little bit on the squad quality because I know where you lie on things, John Stokes. Good to see you with us and do appreciate your support as a member. Alex is in here. He's already calling out Dave. William Webb is in the house as well. Good to see you, William Webb. And Dropkick Your Teacher has thrown this in. But Soren, before I get to Dropkick Your Teacher, I mean, I haven't heard you or Martin's takes on this. A lot of people say that the squad is bang average. They would sell over half of this squad. I'm not sure where you lie on this. I don't want to assume where you're at, but what do you make of this, that people seem to say that we kind of deserve to be where we are? That's how poor our squad is. Or they'll say that no matter what manager comes in, we'll be in and around the position that we are in now. Do you think the squad is underperforming or overperforming under Thomas Frank?
Personally, I couldn't disagree with a single thing Dave said. We said at the beginning of the season that the squad was better than last season and it should be challenging for a top four place. I was one that said top four at least, you know, and I think as with the right manager and the right system, I think we should be top four with the squad we've got. And look, we all hate, you know, we were all excited when Xavi Simons was coming. Everybody told us that Moani was going to absolutely rip this league up with goals and things like that. And we've just sold our top scorer from last season. And, you know, you look at it and on paper, if these players believe in what they're doing and they believe in the manager and they believe in the system, these players should be top four. I'm sorry, I agree with Dave fully. This squad is not as bad as people say. It's just
when there was no Europe, the first season under Ange with the majority of the squad, we finished 5th in the Premier League table. Then the next season, when we bunned off the league and prioritized a trophy, we won it, which shows to me this squad isn't as bad as people make it out to me. Like, you've got this comment here, and where is it? From Miss Bunny says, you can't blame Frank for players not shooting, etc. But this is where you have to understand the manager and go and do your research and understand how he views football. He views anything in and around the edge of the box or from distance as low scoring opportunities. He doesn't want to play that way. So there is an instruction for them not to take them shots. It is an instruction. You have to understand the guy that's managing your football club and the way he sees football. Go and listen to interviews and stuff he does on tactics. He explains all this, and then you get a really good insight into how he sees football.
So, yeah, but I mean, people, look, they can disagree with me all they want. If you start to look at it, we know Vicario's not great with his feet, but he's not a bad goalkeeper. The back four, on their day, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, and if you say Jed Spence, it's as good a back four as we've had for a long time. That is a good back four. Then you put Paulinho in front of them. There isn't, on his day, there isn't a much better number 6 in the Premier League. He is good. And then if you look at the midfield that we had, of perhaps Sarr and Bentancur maybe in front of him, brilliant. Not the best, but, solid. Kudos, he was ripping it up to start with. Left-hand side is probably the weakest that we've got, but the only problem we have got at the moment is actually scoring goals. And last season we were creating chances left, right, and centre. This season we couldn't create a chance if our life depended on it. But as a whole, if this squad was managed better, then I'm sorry for it. It's a decent squad. It's a decent set of players. And I'll if people don't agree with me, that's fine. But it is not as bad as people make out if you've got the right manager to manage them. And I don't think we have.
Martin, give us your opinions on the squad conversation. Then also, if you would like, you could talk to Artist T here, because he's saying, in the one player that Frank did need to rotate, being Mohamed Kudus, who's ran into the ground completely, and now he's going to be out for a while. I think he's touching on what Dave said earlier about how he's tinkered and rotated far too much.
Going on that, the players we've got now, we're at the bare bones. They're all in that position now. So the fear is, how many more can we lose? Right? I know we've sold Manor Solomon, he's not at the club, but the loan players are getting loaned out again. They're selling Johnson. He won't get in a game, so you can say, well, it was a player Frank didn't want and Frank didn't use. But it's still diminishing the numbers. And then now you're in the busiest part of the year, where fixtures are every 2-3 days relentlessly, while the rest of Europe have all had 2 weeks off over Christmas. Then the Champions League's going to start. We're completely at bare bones. We're completely knackered. They've had a couple of weeks rest. We expect us to go kicking on in the Champions League. Just on that basis alone, we've got our backs against the wall with it. So there's nothing coming in, which is a worry. I'm sure we'll probably touch on that in a bit. But like Sean done a thing the other day, following on from that Sky Sports thing with a midfield passing. Now, just to pick on Bentancur, I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he can perform better than what we're seeing. But in the last 5 years, he's been like around between, for progressive passes, between 75 and 85% top percentile. This season, he's down to the 13%. That's like a 60-70% drop off.
Yeah.
Now, that is not, we've got 5 years of him being there at like 70 to 80%, 70 to 8%, 70 to 8%. Now all of a sudden it's 13. And he's getting more games than Paulinho. So it's not like he's not being played or whatever. So, that tells you, you can't just say, oh, well, because Xavi's doing all the passing, because he's been dropping Xavi. So you can't sort of say, well, Bentancur ain't doing it because he's sitting because someone else is doing it for him. It's, it has to be by design. And as I say, you're saying with Kudus was starting to do it. And then now it's been dragged out of him. Right, we're going to bring what you're doing back down to the rest of it. And, as I say, at the beginning of the season, I was happy for Frank to come in and give him a go. I could see the positives. It's been proven that at the moment that Dave and them thinkers were 100% right on. You know, what we've got is what we was getting. But for me, the squad, it's like 1 week we see Richie and Marani up front, then you're seeing it in different positions. There's no fluidity and there's no system that he's sticking with. And like as we always said with Poch, he had a good 11. Outside of that, it was makeshift. And in the European games, it was we had a A squad and a B squad. Harry Kane and that was in the B squad, and they made theirs. So we ain't even got a good A squad at the minute. And, you know, it's worrying. And as I say, that he's had his best defence fit all season, you know, and Papi Sarr, Bergvall, Archie Gray, you know, we had all them last year, and we've added Paulinho to give a bit more defensive stability. We've added Xavi to give us a bit of offensive that we've lost in Maddison. So really, on paper, how it looks, his midfield has been upgraded. Forget the strikers at the minute and then what we've got to find. Just that midfield, he's got the same as last year, and he's had a defensive and an attacking option added to it, and we seem to be worse. So it can't all just be the players are crap. No, they're not going to go out and challenge for the league. No, we understand where we're at. We're realists, right? But are we really swimming in that like 12th to 13th, 14th, which we have been? And, you know, like the mindset of the game against Brentford, that was not to win. That you can see it clearly. The game plan was clearly to see not to lose. Now, in football, if you don't let none in, you don't lose. If you score and you don't let none in, you win. It's as simple as that. But if you're only going to not let none in and not try to score, then you're not going to win. So it has to be by instruction and by design. And he keeps saying, we're in transition and we're doing this and we're doing that. And then he goes and talks about Brentford and Bournemouth and he praises them to the hilt. How about giving us a bit of praise and instill a bit of that confidence you see in the other teams into our boys and tell them you are better than what we're doing at the minute and give them. And it's not even instructions or coaching. It's just man management. Look, boys, come on, we can do this. But if you're seeing him setting up negative not to lose, what are the players meant to do? They're doing what they're told to do, and it's clear to see. So
jump on that as well, Martin. That people in the chat are saying none of our players get into the top 6 teams. It's not about having players that get into the top 6 teams. It's about having players that gel together, play as a team, and understand what they're supposed to be doing without making mistakes. Now, you go back to teams that have done well before, and they've not always been the teams with the best players. They've just played together better and become hard to beat. And it's like you say, if you don't score, you can't win. If you don't concede and you score 1, you will win. Yeah. That's all you've got to do. You've just got to play as a team. It's a team game. There is no I in team.
Or even I would make the point that I've seen this a lot, and I can see what people mean by this, like in that the level of quality that we have to pick from is nowhere near what it was in the past. But when people say, oh, we don't have the Dembeles anymore, we don't have the Kanes, the Sons, the Ericssons, world-class players, in the team anymore. Then I'm like, I sort of look at the teams that are in the top of the table. It's like, how many world-class players do even Chelsea have? Like maybe one, if you would put Cole Palmer potentially in that bracket, potentially Caicedo, but I think that's very debatable. You look at even Aston Villa, like maybe a Morgan Rogers, like that's a maybe. Like he's only come onto the scene in the last year and a half. There are a lot of teams that are challenging in like the top 4 or 5 of the Premier League. I wouldn't say many of them have like a riddle.
How many of them are world beaters at Woolwich?
It's down to the coaching. It's down to the
like superstars.
When we were,
they've got good players and they've got good depth, but it's not like they're all world beaters.
When we were challenging under Poch, He wasn't given superstars to go and challenge.
Yeah.
He brought in a load of players that were shipped out on loan, brought through some of what we hadn't. When we bought Sonny, wasn't a world class player. When we brought him in, when we bought Dembele and he was playing at Fulham, he wasn't a world class player. We bought Wanyama and he was out Southampton, he wasn't a world class player. And same with Toby. Same when we brought in Jan Vertonghen and Ericsson and stuff like that. The thing is, he looked around, he pulled it all together, he got the best out of what he has, and he went on to compete, which shows. To Jack's point, yeah, we're not filled with world-class players. I get it. But, this squad is better than where we currently are.
Yeah, that's just, I just feel like if we're expecting, everyone's saying like, oh, our squad's around like 8th or 9th. And it's like, yeah, and we're sitting 13th. So clearly he's not getting, the most out of the squad. If we all believe our squad is around 8th or 9th quality, we're not, claiming that we should be in the top 4 or anything like that. Like Dave brought up before, we've already lowered our standards going into this Premier League season, and he's not even meeting those already lowered Premier League standards. That's where I'm just coming out from.
Jack, say for the argument that we win our next 2 or 3 games and the teams above us don't, and we're 5th or 6th, then every one of our players is in a top 6 team. So they've got into a top 6 team. So this argument about none of our players get into a top 6 team is absolutely bollocks, because if you're in 6, you're in a top 6 team. But this team is good enough with the right manager to gel and be top 4, 5, 6 team. I'm sorry. It just is.
We do have the lineups coming out here. I just want to take this from Sugar Ray. Big up, lads. Nice to see you back, Dave. I want to see a 3-5-2 and a rotation of positions across the attacking third. Well, let me zoom in on this for you, Sugar Ray, and we'll see whether he's answered that back 5 formation. We haven't seen it too often from Thomas Frank. We have Vicario in goals, Palhinha, Xavi, Tell, Bergval, Romero, Pedro Porro, Spence, Bentancur, Van de Ven, and Kolo Muani. It looks like it's going to be a midfield 3 of Bergval, Palhinha, and then probably Bentancur as well. With looks like maybe 2 wingers of Tell and Xavi, and then Kolo Muani looks like he'll be the lone man up front.
Yeah,
I would probably imagine that Tell will play either. He might play up front. You never know. Like he could. Yeah. And then Kolo Muani might play on the right or something like that. But then you would expect Xavi Simons probably to be coming in off the left, maybe in this game.
I'd be surprised though. I think Tell will start along the left again. I thought he played well there.
Yeah.
Look, I think it is a 4 sort of 2-3-1, whatever way you want to dress it up. It's just the makeup of that forward line. I think you called the midfield right. I do think it will be Palhinha, Bentancur, which I'm delighted he's getting back to that double pivot. I know Spurs fans had a lot of problems with it at the start of the season, but for me, I think it's the most solid out of all the options. Bergval will then probably move into the cam. Udebur has played off the right-hand side for Tottenham before, so I'd be surprised if he's not out there.
He's on the bench. Yeah, Odebear's on the bench.
Oh, sorry, Odebear's off the bench. Oh, sorry. So
that's why I kind of was speculating, Dave. Like, I wonder, Kolo Muani did play on the right, to fill in last game. So I wonder if...
front 3 would be interesting to see how it's front 4 even.
Because I'd be surprised. I mean, this is the thing with Thomas Frank. It is a bit of fun guessing game. Like, you never know. Like, it could be Xavi Simons could play through the middle. Bergval, we've seen kind of play on the left or some version of that. But maybe it could be Xavi Simons on the left with either Kolo Muani or Tell up front, with then one of them being pushed out to the right-hand side. I'm a little disappointed, though, that he has dropped Odebear and not put him on the right, because I feel like Odebear was one of the better players in our last game. And then almost in true Thomas Frank fashion, he then drops the guy after having, in my opinion, a pretty solid game, actually. But Dermotron, we haven't heard you for a while. So, I mean, any thoughts on the lineup here? Anything that you're excited by it, or any disappointments?
Disappointed Odebear's not starting. Do you think it might be a 4-2-2-2?
It could be. We've seen that before.
Could be. Seen that before.
I don't think it works.
I don't think it doesn't work, Dave. No, I'm just look. Yeah, it could be. I would put Xavi on the left. I'll put Xavi on the left, Tell on the right, and put Morani up front. Morani's not a winger. I'm sorry. He's a striker. He's not a winger. He didn't do well on the left. I don't think he does well on the right either. I think he's a striker. But look, it's a lineup. Great to have Xavi back. It really is. We've really missed him in that midfield. But look, it's all about the manager putting the confidence in putting being a manager is 50% tactical, but the other 50% is man management and putting the confidence in these players. And he's got to really put the confidence into these players to go out and do a job tonight. But yeah, I would have started Odebear. I thought him and Tell played really well in the first half on Sunday. But look, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. The magical mystery tour of Tottenham Hotspur, isn't it?
And Martin, anything that you would add to this in terms of disappointments?
I'm trying to work it out. Right, if he's gonna do, like, forget the back four, but like just the middle area. You've got, if he's gonna play Paulinia and Bentancur. Now that doesn't have to be ultra defensive and two sitting. You can have Bentancur doing a proper 8 and Paulinia doing a 6. But so do you think Tell's going to go to the right because Chavi's going to go to the left and Bergfeld's going to go for the middle, or is he going to put Chavi in the middle and stick Bergvall out on one of the wings? I don't know what he's going to do there. And then he's obviously going to have Mawani up front. But just like the Paulinia and Bentancur I'll get, but outside of that, and Paulinia, I'm a bit confused where he's going to go with it.
Yeah, no,
I can't work it out.
It is hard to work out. Soren, can you figure it out for us? No pressure.
Just, I think a little bit what Martin nearly said. Davi on the left, Bergvall probably playing that 10, Wani on the right, and Tell up front.
Yes,
I mean, otherwise it could be a 4-4-2 maybe with Tell and Wani up front and 4 in midfield. But I'd like to see it where literally Paulinia probably sits in that number 6 and just everybody else goes forward. Just go for it. Go for it tonight.
Yeah.
Let's just go and come out 3-0 winners.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Well, I think we're going to start wrapping things up here. Dermatron, I put in your link to your channel. Please, everybody, I'll put it in another time here, but please subscribe over to Dermot's channel, THFC Till We Die. Smash the like button for us, please, everybody, if you haven't done already. And as well, thank you to all the support that's come in tonight and also all the people that have joined us tonight. There's been a lot of people in the house. I really do appreciate you guys picking us as your watch along destination. We had Tin Man from earlier, Fazzy Radfar, so many people, THFC, of course, Till We Die, Dermatron's channel supported us a lot. Alan Leslie, Logan THFC, Ryan McFarlane, the one and only No Passanata with the best profile picture I've seen in a while. Dropkick Your Teacher, and then Sugar Ray. Really do appreciate you guys. But Dermatron, any plugs?
Yeah, look, if you want to come over and give us a sub, I'd be grateful. I'm looking to get to 2,400 by the weekend. So look, I'm only sort of 10 away from that, or 11 away from that now. So I would love to get there if we can. But yeah, look, tonight's important 3 points. I'll go for a 3-1 Spurs win. I think we're going to go out there and we're going to whoop them. But this is the Thomas Frank horror show. We don't know what we're going to get, who we're going to get, and probably be bored out of our tears by halftime. And I'd be looking at Soren's whiskey department. I'm looking to break into there to get a few bottles of whiskey to get me through the second half. So, but yeah, always back the team. May not like the manager, may get frustrated with the players, but I'll always back my team to win. Never back them to lose. 3-1 for me. And
Very
thanks
nice
for having me on.
No, thanks for being on, Dermot. I'll go back to you, Martin. Any score predictions for this game? How you feeling now after the lineup?
Do you know what? I'm feeling a bit more confident because I can see it as an attacking lineup. I can't work out how he's going to attack or what positions they're in. But at least for me, if he's going to do the base 4 and Paulinia in front and in the rest in some combination, try and have a majority of the game in attack. And I'm feeling quite confident in a win now, actually. I've talked myself around.
Feeling though, if we can't work it out, they've got no chance.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
You should know. That's the problem. You should know who's positioning your team, and I ain't got a clue.
No, and that's it. That's the beauty of it. You look at that and you just think a lot of those players could be playing in a multiple of positions. So yeah,
that whole 4 or 5 can. If we put Bentancur in the 8 and the 6, that whole other 4, they could all be in any of them positions.
Yeah.
Any combination.
Only one that you're pretty confident in playing in the position is Vicario, and even he could be somewhere else.
Thanks to Kerry King as well. Good to see you, Kerry. Thanks for showing support for the show. Soren, just any score predictions? 4-0 to the mighty Spurs after this?
I'm sticking with my 3-0.
There you go. Well, everybody, thanks for being here with us. We'll see you all for the watch along later. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself something to eat. And another massive game for Thomas Frank. Another must-win game. We'll see if he can answer the pressure and if we can climb further into the top 10, because again, it's crazy to say this, but we're only a few points away really from being there. I think even Paul Connor mentioned just 3 points or 4 points off of 8th position. So pick up a win tonight, maybe other results go our way. That's where we could find ourselves, and maybe it would be less doom and gloom or less tension, but we have to get the job done, and we'll see you all later in about 30 minutes time. Come on, you Spurs, and let's hope we pick up 3 points tonight. See you next time, everybody.
See you later.